All right. All right, thank y'all for coming out. Please have a seat. Y'all don't have to stand. And it means a lot to come out slipping and sliding out here. You know, I was speaking to my therapist this morning. Yes, therapist, angry black man in therapy. Speaking to my therapist this morning. And she tells me the story that Reverend Willie Wilson was saying, Union Temple Baptist Church. And he said, you know, this man was so in love with this woman. Like, babe, I would do anything for you. I would buy you a house. I'll buy you a car. I give you all my money. I'll take care of you the rest of your life. And I'm going to see you tonight if it don't rain. So it means a lot to me for all of you to be here, slipping and sliding here on MLK Day. As fate would have it, I don't see my notes I wanted to acknowledge. But we all here because we're living in very serious times. This is the radical side of Martin Luther King Avenue. And a lot of people will have you believe that Martin Luther King only made 2 speeches. And he actually was an anti-capitalist. He actually was a militant pacifist. He was actually a democratic socialist. And on the radical side of Martin Luther King Avenue, where we represent, he also said that the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. And if we're not willing to say those things, then we are not really honoring Martin Luther King. And how can you possibly honor him without embracing everything that he stood for and unfortunately was killed for? Because you also they have you believe as if he died of natural causes, you know, because our enemies quote him very often. But my name is Kymone Freeman, for those who do not know me. I'm coming here today for my first official announcement that I'm running for Congress to challenge the 34-year reign of Eleanor Holmes Norton, because I think we can do better. Because she has been a wonderful civil rights icon. She has put in the work. She has made dedications that has improved the plight of black people in this country. She was the number 2 person on the March on Washington. She also was a leader of the Free South Africa movement against apartheid. But however, she is no longer willing to stand on the radical side of Martin Luther King Avenue. She is not willing to say ceasefire. Well, and I think those things are a problem. And let me tell you why. Because right here in this studio, I had the pleasure of hosting the last interview with Marion Barry. I have the pleasure of hosting his last interview. He was the first person to sign the wall. And you know how when you lose somebody, you hear their words differently. So I go back and I listen to this interview, and he said to me that no one gave us anything. Everything we got, we took. And I think that we are taking it for granted that we have the power to actually change the system that we find ourselves living in. Alice Walker, The Color Purple, and the campaign here is Color Purple. She says the greatest power is convincing people they don't have any. Now, I find it ironic that Eleanor and I share a mentor, Dorothy Irene Height. Dorothy Irene Height, I had the pleasure of meeting the president of the National Council of Negro Women, the only building owned by black people on Pennsylvania Avenue. I think Oprah signed a check. I had the pleasure of meeting Dorothy Irene Height, and she was already in a wheelchair. So I get down on one knee, I hold her hand because I didn't want to tower over her. And I said, Miss Height, what would you say to a young man that would give his life to finish the incomplete work of Malcolm and Martin? And she says to me, and she pats me on my hand, holds it for about 30 seconds straight, because she was really pondering what she was going to say to me. And then she says, baby, your enemies are not even thinking about you. I'm like, wow, what am I, an ant? I'm so insignificant, oh my God. But that was not her point. She leans in for the punchline. She says, because they think they already won, so they won't see you coming. I'm like, wow. So I puffed my chest out. It's beautiful. I had a play called the Prison Poetry, award-winning play that sold out Lincoln Theater. I invited her to it, and she was a great inspiration to me. So many moons later, I'm standing in this studio, and I have the pleasure of hosting the president of the Kennedy Center. the president of Juilliard School of Music. I had Esperanza Spalding, Grammy Award winner. I had Yo-Yo Ma, the Jay-Z of classical music, in this studio. And I wasn't even fazed by the celebrities in my space. I was just trying to make sure the technical production goes off without a hitch. And because there was money in the room, security says, Mr. Freeman, I'm Mr. Freeman there. Security says, there's someone at the door for you. And I look, and it's Baba Tariq Aduno, who just transitioned. And I said, sure, let him in. He comes in, and what does he have with him? He has this giant poster of Dorothy Irene Height. I didn't invite him. I didn't ask him to bring that, but he made sure she was there. And when I saw her, I was reminded of her words to me. And that's when I looked around and realized they're not going to see me coming. And so when Yo-Yo Ma played Bach, we put Dorothy Irene Height poster up front and center, and it looked as if he was serenading her. Now, as I said that, we lost Baba Aduno. We just did his 40th day ascension ceremony just the other day. And it was that moment when I realized what Dorothy meant to me. And Dorothy was an unapologetic believer in the self-determination of Palestinian people, which is in stark contrast to the 34-year incumbent that we have now, who refuses to say ceasefire. Can everybody say ceasefire? Ceasefire. How difficult is that? The murder rate in this city, and you have trouble saying ceasefire. Do you know if DC was a state, it would be the most violent state in America in 2022? Did you know that when Richmond, California had a higher murder rate than New York City per capita, you know what they did? They identified at-risk violent offenders, and they gave them a guaranteed income, something that Martin Luther King advocated for. And you know what happened? Violent crime rate went down in half almost overnight. But when Kenya McDuffie, a councilman here in Washington, D.C., tried to implement a similar program, you know what happened? The powers that be, the Washington Post, all clowned him, said, oh, you want to pay criminals for good behavior? Like, yeah, pay now, pay later. These are things that lets you know that we can do better. Because you are refusing to say ceasefire, that callousness makes it more tolerable that DC is the most dangerous city for a black woman to give birth in America. It makes it tolerable that we have 30% child poverty in this country, in this city, which is higher than the national average in this country. We have our illiteracy rate that's twice the national average in this country. And literacy, there's a direct correlation between violence, crime, and illiteracy. So these are things that should not be acceptable, especially when we talk about having a revolution of values that Martin Luther King so brilliantly supported in his last speech. In fact, it wasn't his last speech. It was in the speech that got him killed beyond Vietnam. He said we need a revolution of values. Now, I was told not to speak on foreign policy because you cannot win an election on that. But I think it's imperative that we talk about it, because while resources and billions of dollars have been sent over there, we're not doing anything here with the opportunities that we have. We have starving children in the war zones, and we have children right here who has been denied SNAP benefits until a lawsuit changed the mayor's mind. So there's plenty of similarities with people all over the world that's suffering from oppressors that starts with policies made in this city. DC is a collage of local, national, and international. And we must remember that. We must remember that. This is not Cleveland. This is the nation's capital. And we therefore must chime in on what they're doing with our money overseas in our name. Everyone comes to Washington, D.C. to protest, march, and be heard. But it's about time the people that live here be heard. Yeah. And we can do better. We can improve this system. But we have to have a revolution of values. That is what is necessary. The status quo is not sustainable. It is not correct. And Martin Luther King would be turning over in his grave if we did not rise to the occasion. He said that if you do not find something you're willing to die for, then you're no longer fit to live. That is the Martin Luther King on the radical side that we're talking about. And we're here to challenge the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. Now, I just want to say that someone sent a message to me who was slipping and sliding and was not able to be here, but it was so inspirational to me that I wanted to share it with you and have it on record. When they found out I was running for Congress, this is what they sent to me. My dear brother, I was delighted by your announcement to run for office, especially to fill the seat and fulfill the mission that has eluded the long-time current occupant. You have the visionary outlook, proven institution-building capability, balancing being a foot soldier and general simultaneously, vast network, devotion to black folks, principled commitment, boldness, knowledge of governance structures, heart energy, and the essential understanding of the system of white supremacy. You live squarely in reality while making the moves to establish a new reality for our people. I see it all in you, and it's a winning formula. I look forward to hearing more about your plans and opportunities to be supported. That was so inspirational to me. We have to have the confidence to have a serious examination of this society. Martin Luther King says we have to have a restructuring of America. A restructuring of America. And until we do that, we have not done our best. So I want to thank each and every one of y'all that's coming out here tonight, this evening, excuse me. Again, I have petitions to be signed. You can help the campaign. You can go to our new IG page, and it's Kymone Freeman for Congress. The website is also Freeman for Congress. Our the new bank account for our campaign doesn't go live until Friday, but those donations will be, I'll let you know that link goes live on Friday. But if you want to make support right now, you can support React Radio at Cash App Newton Media Group, because we offline right now. As soon as we put a Palestinian flag on the roof of our building, somehow our server miraculously went down. I can't make these things up. And this is what we're dealing with. God bless Dorothy Irene Height. But we want to make sure that this is a people's campaign, that this is a revolution of value. So I want all y'all to join the revolution. And we can say that. We no longer have to apologize for being radical, because once you study Martin Luther King, you have all the radicalism training you need. And that's the vibranium that we have to step to the table and challenge the status quo. Because until we do that, again, we have not done enough. So that's my official announcement, but I am open to a few questions before we get out of here. If anybody has anything they want to press on me. I know I didn't invite the public media, just my personal friends here. So the media that's in this room are trusted sources, because I want to have an opportunity to take ownership of my narrative. So thank you. Sam P. Collins from Washington Informer, the only other media outlet east of the river, and the only newspaper black-owned east of the river. Yes.
Appreciate the opportunity. What's your strategy as far as going into Congress with non-voting power to prioritize those issues and make sure that dollars are being well spent, not on war, but to sustain and balance the American people, or just whoever else?
The platform for React Radio is that truth is our product. So I don't think we have enough truth tellers. I want to try out for the squad. I can say that. I think the squad needs some help. I'd like to be able to come off the bench. But it's not just the fact that you go into Congress and you don't have a vote and you can't work across the aisle. I think in the absence of no vote, we do have a voice. And the voices that I don't hear come out of Congress is telling the truth that's challenging the system. Here's the truth. They spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan for 20 years. What is the largest export out of Afghanistan? Heroin. Now, if the American government occupied Afghanistan for 20 years, spending trillions of dollars, do you think the heroin production will go up or go down? I'll leave it to you.
Should go down.
Should go down. It actually went up. Yeah, you tell me how is heroin production going up and poppy fields growing more under 20 years of U.S. occupation simultaneously with an opioid crisis in America at the same time. Coincidence? I think not. But that didn't get addressed. I didn't hear anyone talk about that in Congress. This is what we're talking about. We have to be willing to speak truth to power and do something about it. Right now, there's a ballot initiative called ranked choice voting. It's a revolutionary concept that would tip the balance of power in this country if it was applied on a federal scale. Because right now, if you don't like it, the two guys that's running, we should have a third option, shouldn't we? Should our choices be paper or plastic? No. We have a third option. We can have a recyclable bag, our own bag, and we can bring that to the table. And that's what we need to do. And this is just one way to do it. Ranked choice voting. Educate yourselves on that. Anyone else have a question? Because I want to make sure that we understand that this is the people's campaign and that we are here to stand on the radical side of Martin King Avenue and espouse that. Because one of the things that was illuminating to me is that when I found out about a community land trust that would mediate the cost of housing, no one's talking about the fact that Austria, Vienna, has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, has no homelessness, has no unaffordable housing. Everything is social housing in Austria. In this country, the HUD has a guideline that you're only supposed to pay 30% of your income in housing costs, including utilities. But it's a guideline. It's not a mandate. It should be enforced. Half the people in this city are paying more than that in housing. Some of them are paying 50% of their income in housing. And that is unrestrained capitalism that needs to be checked. Because Martin Luther King said they got socialism for the rich and rugged capitalism for the poor. Because while we struggling with housing costs, every city has a brand new stadium that's been built by taxpayer money but owned by a billionaire. So your taxpayers pay for the stadium and then the billionaire owns it. And you struggling with your rent. That doesn't make any sense. Chuck, I know you got something to say about it.
I do. So I've probably seen you on the street 10 years, since Mike Brown to George Floyd, everything in between, fighting against police terror that has been happening in D.C. and around the country. Right now, I believe as we speak, I was told yesterday in a protest that this omnibus bill that they're trying to shove through while people have their eyes on Palestine, they're trying to shove it through and pull back many of the reforms, such as vehicular pursuits, chokeholds, and others. What needs to happen in D.C. as far as policing, as far as laws? What's your stance to just help fix what's going on as far as police and police terror?
Well, the first thing is they need to pass the George Floyd bill, which they have not done. No one's holding them accountable. I think we are the willingness to acquiesce with the status quo and toe the party line is probably the biggest problem that we have. No one wants to step outside of that. And I really want to see us challenge that. I did a whole presentation in front of President Obama's, what was it called? He had a panel for policing, 21st century policing. And Charles Ramsey, former DC police chief, was the head of that. I testified, it's online, I'm gonna probably share it on the website. And I ran down 10 things that would change police reform in this country. And one of the most aggressive things that can be done is that the police that work in your area should live in your area. That right there is the cornerstone of community policing, because when he actually has ownership in that space, works in that space, lives in that space, he's going to have a different attitude in that space. When I'm bumping into the police officer in the grocery store, he's not going to be the same police officer that's an occupying force trained by Israel, by the way, that will be abusing me and brutalizing my children, because he knows who I am, he knows who the father of this child is, the mother that would take care of most of the problems. But when you have police coming out of here from Ohio or Pennsylvania and Bumble, whatever, and acting like an occupying force, then you get the results that we are getting. And that's what they want. That's their main maintenance of keeping us down. And that needs to be challenged. We have police officers and we act regular today. Now, if I was anti-police, I wouldn't allow them in here. They can stand out in the cold. I invited them in because it's humanity. And so if I'm being humane to them, I should expect the same treatment for them to me and to my child. So until we acknowledge that the fact that, again, truth is our product. Here's another little piece of truth. This is not We Act Radio truth. This is not Kymone Freeman truth. This is the FBI. The FBI said in a report in 2006 that law enforcement, they ain't just say police, they said law enforcement. That means everyone from the cop on the street up to the prosecutors and the judges have been infiltrated, quote unquote, by white supremacists. Their code name is Ghost Dogs. The FBI 2006 confirmed that law enforcement has been infiltrated by white supremacists, and a black president, 2 black attorney generals, and whoever else have failed to even acknowledge that. Failed to deal with that. And this is what we're talking about. We are here to say that we have some unfinished business with this society. And that we are here to represent the radical side of Martin Luther King. He said it needs a restructuring of America. A revolution of values. That's what we're going to stand on. It's going to be a rough road, but I'm here to stand on that. This is the mountain that I'm going to die on, because now is the time. People are dying without any acknowledgement of our culpability. I found my notes I wanted to share. One is from Ava DuVernay, her masterclass. Now, anyone that makes a donation to support this campaign today, I got 3 guest passes for masterclass, and I would be happy to share one with you. But Ava DuVernay went on to say this: pushing the boundaries of what we are told works, but it's not always what can work, and certainly not what should work. All right? Let marinate on that for a second. And this one from Martin Luther King: the hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict. The hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of moral conflict. So that means that we cannot sit idly by and do nothing. We agree. What's our motto? Do something. Do something. This is my do something. I need your support. Let's promote a revolution of values. Let's represent the radical side of Martin Luther King. Let's challenge the status quo. Let's change the system. Because these people are, whether this campaign is successful in unseating a 34-year incumbent or not, an 86-year-old congressperson who is trying to stay neutral in the midst of a moral conflict that is abandoning the morals of our mentor, Dorothy Irene Height, that is no longer espousing Martin Luther King's values, eventually is going to change. This is white supremacy's last stand. That's why we have poor choices in this 24 election. And I hope that I can electrify, at least on a local level, to make sure that we have an opportunity to challenge the system. All right? Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. It's so beautiful to see so many people come out here under these conditions. Thank you. Thank you. And please, you can support us now with Cash Out Media Group to help We Act Radio get back up and running, our server back on. The campaign will be taking direct donations starting Friday. The website again is Kymone Freeman for Congress. That's number 4. Follow us on relevant social media. We'll need volunteers. We also need to get our petition signed. You have to be a Democratic, you have to be a DC voter and registered in the Democratic Party. I know how some of you feel about the Democratic Party, but we're here to synthesize that. We have to run inside the Democratic Party locally because DC only understands that language. So we have to work within the space. We can't have a revolution of value and we're not even working in the confounds of trying to change voting patterns in DC at the same time. But make no mistake about it. We're here to upset the system, and I hope that you guys will join me. So please, join the revolution, and thank you for coming out. Do something. Thank you, guys.